everyone. What did you do this year? We're going to tell you what we did. You're watching Techstrong, gang. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. It is the day before Christmas Eve. Not the day before Christmas, but the day before Christmas Eve. For those of you keeping score, it's also 2 days before the start of Hanukkah. We're very excited here. I got my latkes ready to cook. And this is going to be what I hope our last Techstrong gang of 2024. Now, there's something to be said about that. Right? We started Techstrong gang. I guess it was about 9 months ago, Mike Vizard, wasn't it?
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah, no, it's been going on a while, and it was an idea where I just felt like we needed a kickstart for every day's Techstrong TV show.
Right. Well, I think you had this idea 2 years ago. It just took us 2
Yeah, it
years
just
to get around
took,
it.
sometimes it takes longer to these things to come to fruition, which is the name of my boat. But it's here, and you know what? I'll be honest with you. It succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. Because what I didn't realize is, in addition to giving you all a peek inside the depravity of our minds here at Techstrong and what we think about, in the world in general, not just tech, it's also been cathartic for me, especially this crazy year. And I'm not going to get into the politics and the elections if we don't have to. But it's been cathartic. It gives me an outlet to vent, to say what I feel, and I don't have to write it on Facebook. I don't have to defriend people or any of that stuff. So personally, for that reason, I personally love it. But beyond that, we've had the chance to have people like Currier and Tracy Ragan and John Swartz and John Willis and Tracy Martin. And, the list goes on. Tracy Bannon, Hope Winslow. So many gang members who regularly come on here. And you know what? University, Steve Foskett's another one, Stephen Foskett. You know what I hear? I love doing the gang. I love doing Techstrong gang. We laugh, we talk about interesting things. And I'm glad it's become a place that people like to come to. I hope that you guys out there enjoy watching it as much as we enjoy doing it. So with that being said, what we thought we would do this year, or this show, being it's the last one of the year, is rather than talk about any timely topic, it's the day before Christmas. We're going to talk about what we thought were our favorite things this year, whether it was something we discussed on the gang or something in the tech world, of an event we went to or what have you. So I've assembled, some of the core gang folks here. Let me introduce them to you. First of all, I mentioned his name earlier. He is one of the co-founders of VI and a Futurum analyst. He's from the Bronx, so we got 2 people from the Bronx here on the panel. You don't see that too often. Currier. Hey, Guy, how are you?
Really good. Trying to work my way up from depravity to derangement at the moment.
Well, that's
very
something
good.
to shoot
I'm really
for.
happy to be here.
Now there's your goal for 2025.
Better than deplorable, Guy,
Well, that was me last year. So
that was you last year.
So you, Guy, look, the arrow's pointing up. Right? You got from deplorable to depravity on your way to hopefully derangement. I can't imagine what D you'll have for 2026, but good for you. Welcome, man. It's been a pleasure. Also
Likewise.
Joining us from the hills of New Mexico. She, you know what, this person, she's a gem. I mean, she's always here for Techstrong whenever we need a speaker or a voice or to bounce stuff off of, and she co-hosts Techstrong Women. She's also the CEO of Deploy Hub, we never really talk about Deploy Hub a lot, but Tracy Ragan. Hey, Tracy, thanks for being here and thanks for being you.
Oh, thank you, Alan, and thank you for having had me for the last year on Techstrong Gang. It is fun. We have had some hilariously fun conversations. As soon as
Yes.
I'm done, I always go and talk to Steve about. You wouldn't believe what we talked about today.
Yeah, and that's what
I
makes
really
it
enjoy
fun.
it.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we appreciate you. And then what happened to the guitars, Mitchell? Would you go corporate on me?
You know, I did a little painting. I painted the whole room green, and now this background pops up. You know, it's like,
Oh,
wow, what
goodness.
happened?
I kind of like the guitars, but anyway, he's also a future analyst, VP DevOps, and analyst, our own Mitch Ashley. Hey, Mitchell, how are you?
Hey, good to be here. You know, it's a good Techstrong gang when as soon as we're done, I leave the room and email or Slack or go talk to my wife, Jody. Say, got to watch tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
It's great. You won't believe what happened.
Yeah, you won't believe what we did this today. And that's what makes it fun. Anyway, thank you, Mitchell. And then joining, he's kind of he's the editorial guiding lighthouse of Techstrong Gang. Just goes round and round with that spotlight. But he sets the agenda day in and day out, even when he's not on. He's our Chief Content Officer, Mike Vizard. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Well, I didn't realize that I'm also your therapist now. So there you go.
You know what?
I think we're all Alan's therapists.
We should submit it. Submit it to the insurance company. I've got coverage for this. I think we've got coverage for this. But anyway, guys, 2024, what a year it's been. As you look over the landscape of 2024, I don't think there's any doubt that the Techstrong Gang idea of the year, because it's not just a person, is AI, or maybe it is a person, is AI. I think 2024 will be the year of Gen AI. It's so much about what we talk about here on Techstrong. It's so much about what we talk about when we get together at conferences with people. It just seems to suck so much of the oxygen out of every conversation, as well as a good portion of every dollar that's being invested in tech today, right? So, obviously that's the story for 2024. I think the big story, but let's hear what were some of your favorite highlights, whether they be, as I said, from gang conversations or events you've been to or what have you. Who wants to go first? Mitch?
I'll jump in with one. It's somewhat of an obvious one, but I think it was momentous for a couple of reasons, and that's the CrowdStrike outage and the widespread outage. So yes, it was very big. It affected a lot of companies. People were down for several hours, if not days. But why it stands out to me is for a couple of reasons. One is it wasn't a security incident. It was a DevOps software deployment issue and testing quality. And how do you control software that gets out, beyond the gates that you need to stop deploying when there is an issue? I think the other is it demonstrated that there's some responsibility on the receiver end too, right? You can't blame everything on the producer of software putting out an errant piece of software. You know what happens. Stuff happens. And you have to take some responsibility also to be able to respond when you get a bad release, bad code, bad something. And I'm not saying you can prevent everything, but it brought to me, really elevated the CD part of CI/CD and the importance of not just pushing out code, but being able to respond as you push out code and do it intelligently.
Fair.
I wish we had spent more time thinking through how the economy impacts IT in the last year. And I think if you look post-election, I look at the election as a symptom of that economic conversation. And in addition to a lot of people being out of work, there's just not as many projects going on last year as we would have liked because of interest rates and things that are impacting us on a macro level. And I think that theme is going to continue into 2025. I think the economy is going to be a bigger and bigger conversation. And a lot of the things, even AI, we're heavily enthusiastic about AI because it's more cost effective and theoretically makes us more productive. But we seem to be under a lot more economic pressure lately than I remember in years past.
It's about the economy, stupid. Right? Has been, always will be.
Yeah,
I
but it's like
guess.
that Geico commercial where the kid says, she says, "Oh, you're going to save money on Geico," and the mother says, "Yeah, it's just, with the economy and all." And the son says, "What's an economy?" And nobody can answer the question.
Well,
You know, they hear all the
I didn't
time,
realize
the
we were going to
economy's
talk
bad.
about the current state of American education. They must be
Well,
going
maybe
to a
that is
charter
something to be.
school. Charter school kids.
Oh man,
Well,
the kid had the
But
right answer. He said he was
there's
going to go
something
look it
true
up.
about that
Yeah,
commercial.
yeah.
That
the
and
interesting thing to me about the economy this year has been, and I don't think I really realized this until you just brought it up, Mike, is that when you look at the broad macroeconomic indicators, the famous macroeconomic indicators, although unemployment has been going up this year, it's only been going up slightly. It's still pretty low. And growth has been good. The famous soft landing. I'm not going to belabor this point, but I know people in general have been unhappy with the economy, but the economy overall
No,
and wages have kept
the
up.
metrics of the economy is we have the
Yeah.
strongest economy in the world right now, and the metrics bear it
Yeah.
out. It's
But here's the
perception.
contrast. Yeah, here's the contrast that's been exactly, Alan. But here's the contrast that's been interesting to me, which is that I think tech as a whole, or at least the largest tech companies, seem to have been laying people off left, right, and center for a couple of years now, and that has been a weird shift to me. There are more people I know who've worked in tech who have been laid off, who are looking for work, who've gone through extended periods of work than really I remember since the Great Recession. At the same time as those macroeconomic indicators show growth, and that's a little weird to me. I felt like when AI became an excuse to do this, all of a sudden IBM, Dell, and on and on were laying folks off with that excuse. But we all know that that's really not. I think they were waiting to do it. It's an unexplained thing to me, but a really interesting contrast.
Well, what I think it is, Guy, is quite frankly, the tech job market, the tech job market has been detached from the reality of the economy for a very long time, for a very, very long time. I would say all the way back to the dot-com bubble, right? Because I think even during 2008 and 9, the Great Recession, tech came out of it relatively unscathed. Right? You had a lot of great tech companies that blew up in 08, 09. Right? Think about that. Amazon Web Services, Palo Alto, I can name a bunch. Because traditionally, when the economy goes down, that's when you get that new growth tech companies that lead out. So we didn't have as high unemployment in 08 and 09 in tech as the general pop did. Right? We've always, it's almost been like a weird thing where we're detached from those macroeconomic conditions. Because right, I was in security in 08 and 09. No one ever said, "Oh, damn it, the economy's in the crapper. Cancel security." No, they couldn't do that. So,
Well, let's face it, we haven't dealt with inflation since the 70s.
right, and we
80s,
haven't
really.
had
That's
inflation.
new. That's a whole new factor, and we're still feeling that. Go out
But
and order food or whatever.
that being said, and again, I don't mean to be coarse or crass or unfeeling, but you know what? COVID was a big fat fucking, excuse my language, COVID was a big fat party for the tech industry, right? Money was being thrown around like water. I had in the depravity of the dot-com era, we didn't have valuations and money being thrown around like we did during COVID in tech. It was.
But we've seen no mediation since COVID passed in IT spending. If anything, thanks
No,
to
the IT spending.
AI, IT spending's been stable or growing, and yet the vendors
It's like consumer
selling into that.
confidence. It's consumer confidence to the reality of economic metrics.
Is the shift to value.
But
Right.
the
But
but
that,
the mi-
I feel like that money being spent during COVID, a lot of it was just to keep ahead. We were shifting from
No, it wasn't. We
we,
accelerated digital transformation projects that might have been 5 years out were done in that year. We hired people like, we had pickup trucks in front of Home Depots, right?
no,
And we had
no,
field work to do. I mean, the amount of money the amount of people that were hired, the amount of money that was spent. Mitch, Mike, here at Techstrong,
yeah.
we were taking people down to the Keys. I gave out 2 bonuses a year. We were rolling in dough. We were fat, drunk, and stupid.
I would
Well,
just point out that the metrics, though, are off, right? And the unemployment statistics that the Department of Labor puts out are, any
well, you
kind
know
of
who you sound
any
like?
kind of look into that, and they're shaky as can be. And even the inflation rate that we track, the basket of goods is kind of like, really, it doesn't really reflect what people actually do every day. So I
Right.
think that's the reason a lot of people are unhappy or uncomfortable
Yeah, but
because
did the price of eggs go up because of inflation, or is there profits being taken there? But
a little bit
again,
of both.
No, there's a
but
bird flu problem.
yeah, but again, it's separate and apart from. I think the tech job market guy and the blow up in VC money. Because look, when the VC monies come out, it's like taking the air out of the balloon of the tech market, right? And so there's 2 reasons there. Number one, interest rates killed VC, the whole VC model. The VC model is based on free money almost. And 2, once that happened, someone had to answer for Santino, Carlos. We spent money like crazy, and it had to come back. What goes up, it must come down. It had to come back down to earth. Now, quite frankly, I think what's happened, Guy, to your point, is the real economic metrics, not consumer confidence, right? Tech came down, the metrics came up, and at some point we passed that that thing, and hopefully it'll align going forward. But I think the reason we had the election results that we had in this country is the perception was the economy wasn't good. And let's blame the immigrants, and let's blame, whoever. So, but the tech economy, I think, is still fundamentally, we still, we dictate the future. Tech is still healthy. If we don't do legislations or do stupid things to kill it here in this country, it'll remain so. But I think that's where that is.
well, I think tech's gonna change, and in where we find tech will change. I think one of the interesting things for 2024 for me was gadgets becoming medical devices. As a person with hearing issues, I've had hearing issues all my life, the idea of having a $200 pair of earbuds that I can use here on my computer to talk to you guys and use as hearing aids elsewhere is a big shift. It is huge for people with hearing issues. I mean, when I first started having to get hearing aids, I was spending $5,000. And I had to go only to a doctor to get them. Now, with new changes and new approvals through the FDA, Apple could give me hearing aids in my earbuds.
I just played with this on my phone the other day, but it's telling me my AirPods are not fitting right. I think I got to put smaller thingies on. But yes, you're right. You're 100% right. It's crazy.
There is some
So I
kind of gadget-evolution or something going on. I remember, Tracy, like 10 years ago, maybe a little longer. Mike, remember we covered this? What was it called? The Internet of your body or something like, something area network, meaning personal area network. That's what it was. And where now you've
But
got all these things that can communicate with each other. That's just
Oh
starting.
no, I mean, look, I wear
Well, I
my
think-
ring,
yeah. The thing is it's democratizing healthcare in a way.
Yeah.
Right? Not just rich people can have hearing aids now, right? You can test your sleeping now with devices.
I track
You can
mine
have it. You
religiously.
can at home. You can check your blood pressure and your
And your
cardiac
glucose.
results.
So I tell my wife,
This changes our lives. It really
Yeah,
does.
it does.
And 2024 offered a lot of that.
I tell my wife regularly that all males have hearing problems, so therefore you can't yell
It's
at me. for
selective.
being
It's
here in the first-
selective. You know, they
Males
go-
have listening problems. They don't have hearing problems.
There's a lot of jokes, but
Ask
I'm going
my
to stay
wife.
away from that. So
So,
go ahead, Trace.
so for me, that was, that impacted my life. And as you all know, who watched the gang and I've been on, and we talk about AI, I always say AI sucks until it makes my life easier. And technology kind of is the same way for me. I want something that makes my life easier. I want to create software that makes somebody else's life easier. And that was a huge change. I mean, so many, I would love to, if I had some extra money this year, I would buy a bunch of AirPods and take them to a retirement home where people didn't think they could afford them.
That's a
And
great
the other
thing.
thing it does is it makes it okay to wear them because it's part of our stuff.
People
It's
think
part of
you're
our
bopping
culture
to
now.
the music, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
put them on and
exactly.
just go like this, and you're good,
Yes.
right? And people won't
Yes.
bother you. They'll
Emblematic
think you're
of-
on the phone.
That's emblematic, though, I think, of what's happening in AI is today's AI products are tomorrow's features, right? We just have such a pace of new things coming out. I'm just writing some analysis on AI and development and coming out with this new feature. All of the whether it's GitHub and Microsoft and AWS and Google, they're sort of all racing down the same path. And one introduces this, the other ones do. And charge for it today, maybe it's an extra $10. Tomorrow it'll be free. As we up and up the AI bar, we're in this kind of arms race for AI. Who's going to dominate what? But right now we're kind of creating AI commodities that I think will be just a free part of where we work. More things will get bundled into your Google Copilot subscription or into your Microsoft 365 Copilot or whatever. Maybe someday you don't even pay for that.
Yeah,
So
we
you-
got CES is coming up next week, so we should be seeing a
It
raft.
should
of that
be
kind of-
interesting to see what's there. So this goes back, if you go back to predict 2024, we've got predict 2025 coming up January 9th. Don't miss it. We've got some great stuff going on that day. But you go back to predict 2024. We were talking about AI then. It was the story. Predict 2024 was about AI. It was an AI future. And I remember my session from Predict 2024. It was about, we're techies. All 5 of us on here are techies. So Mitchell's talking about AI and development, and how it's going to affect the tech world. And I said at Predict 2024 that in my lifetime, I've seen a lot of tech revolutions, really big technology events. The cloud, DevOps, Windows, back in the day, right? Windows, we moved from like command line interfaces to graphical interfaces. Think about some of the great tech things that have so blown up our little tech world. But then there are things that go beyond, then there's tech that goes beyond tech. There's tech that is civilization changing. The internet. Think of life before the internet. A lot of people alive today can't think of life before the internet, right? One of the reasons I love doing this show is everyone on here seems to be of an age. I think you got to have an AARP card to get in, but think about life before the internet, right? Think about life before your cell phone. Could you imagine? People couldn't get a hold of you for most of the time. You got to wait till he comes home. I'll leave him a message.
I frankly don't remember how we arranged to do anything. I mean, I know we did.
Yeah,
I used
we
to go to the
did. Shit
movies with
got
my
done,
friends,
right.
but I
We
don't know
got stuff
how I
done.
did it.
I will confess to being a little nostalgic for those days sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
But
me too.
so, these are things that change the fabric of human life. And I thought in 2024 that AI is one of those things. It transcends just the technology bubble we live in and is going to change human life. Now, we did a little segment on Friday's show. It was about an article I think John Swartz wrote. You, Tracy, Guy, you weren't on. It was an article John Swartz wrote about an AI Santa, right? They got Santa now that's an AI that'll talk to kids like real. And we took it to another level about an article I had come across and I sent to Mike Vizard about AI loved ones who've passed away. There's a company that will take 1,000 questions over 3 sessions and spend a couple of hours letting you answer these questions. They record it all. They record your video. They record your voice. And when you're gone, that AI lives on. It's you. It's you talking. It's your voice. And the answers it gives is based upon the LLM that it created from you answering those 1,000 questions. I went home yesterday and then spoke to Bonnie, my wife, about it. And I don't often do that. Mitchell, you say, Jody, you can't wait. I don't tell Bonnie, go watch this, because she just thinks all my friends are nerdy, geeky people, and she doesn't know what we're talking about. And we are. But that being said, we spent 2 hours talking about this last night. I told her Mike Vizard had a visceral reaction that that's just interferes with the grieving process. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. That's all he wanted. That was my. Lisa Martin said, I haven't heard my dad's voice in so long. I'd do anything to do that. John, or maybe it was Mitch, said, wouldn't it be great if you had your ancestors like this? So you go back to your grandpa or your great-grandpa and say, why did you move to Houston from the Bronx? Why'd you come to America? What was it, and get these kinds of things. You're talking about living beyond your life. Now, it's not you. It's an AI representation of you. But these are the kinds of things that freak me the heck out, right? These are the kinds of things where I'm like, because I had very mixed emotions because I have trouble dealing with loss and stuff like that. But if this thing were to become norm, if these kinds of things were to become norm, what's that mean for us? Right?
I think that is the coolest thing I've heard. I want to do it.
Me too. There you go.
Here's the issue. Here's another
we like to look
issue.
through
Hold on, let
we like
Tracy
to look.
finish.
We love to look through photographs when somebody has passed away. It's our way of remembering them. And I go through that every year when my nieces and nephews come over. I like to sit down with them with the books and go through the pictures. If we have home videos, home movies, I show those.
Yeah, me
So
too.
this is just a modern way. This is just a modern way of having
But this
our
takes it
memories
to a whole
captured.
nother level.
It takes it to an amazing level. I think it's an amazing application. And yay, that's my favorite AI tool or AI solution so far this year. I love that.
Good for you. Mike?
So here's the issue, right? My father, the person he was in 1975 is not nearly the same person he was in 1990. And if I only have a 1990 representation of him and I start asking him questions about things in the year 2020 or 25 or 27, that representation doesn't grow and evolve in the time, right? It's just him stuck in a time window. So, it's not really
Well, I don't know that. So let me play devil's advocate. Let's say you start doing it the day your first child's born, and every year you do an update, or every 3 years you do an update. And remember, the stuff that you put in, it's like any other reg or SLM, it could still pull.
Then it's no longer him. It's some extension of him.
Well, maybe that's what people want. I don't know. But I'm telling you that this concept ignited me. We had such a debate and discussion about it, Bonnie and I, last night, that it really. And I'm like, look, this is one small example of what we can do with AI. But man, there's things we're gonna do here.
I
that
know,
are-
and both my parents.
I don't think this whole 2024 retrospective should be about AI, but it should probably be mostly about AI. And you're reminding me of one of the critical experiences for me this year related to AI, which was Google Cloud Next.
Mhm.
And the reason being that, I mean, I've been working on and talking about and writing about AI for a very long time. And, you know, I knew what a large language model was. I frankly honestly would say that generative AI did not really like have a big impact on me until ChatGPT 3.5, like everybody else. What I did not fully realize until Google Cloud Next was the extent to which simulated continuation of input data, which is what generative AI would be, was so pervasive and helpful in so many ways. It's far beyond the large language model. And I'm not talking about code, because going into Google's done a phenomenal job in code generation, the code generation type of generative AI. I'm talking about managing Google Cloud Storage, which you might think of as a recommendation engine, but really is a large language, not a large, generative AI model applied to a set of data inputs that have nothing to do with language whatsoever, or creative, or imagery, or any of that sort of thing. And that, it was like the scales fell from my eyes, and I was like, wow, any sufficiently large data set can be used to train the simulation of new data from a stream of old data. And once you abstract your way out of it being language or art or music or any of that sort of thing, then you're like, the world's your oyster in terms of applications of it.
Yeah.
And
And
I
that's to
think
Mike's
that,
point, Guy. I
Yeah.
think that's what you're dealing with.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm calling my lawyer right after this and adding a little clause to the will that says, "Do not AI resuscitate."
Don't laugh.
Look,
You might.
that
you
was a
might say
joke.
that.
That was a
Gonna have
joke
a
that is
living
going
AI
to be
will.
reality in a couple of years. That is going to be something that estate lawyers are going to be talking to their clients about. Are you?
Do not
Yeah,
use
and
my like
that would be
list or-
litigated.
Yeah. This is like the
Okay,
Bela
before
Lugosi case.
we run out of time, I have to say what impacted me the most this year.
Go ahead.
Good.
You know, I don't think I have not yet gotten over the lampshades.
At Black Hat from Palo Alto.
I have not
Well,
gotten
that-
over it.
that was
Personally,
probably
I
the
have
biggest
not gotten
block
over
I-
it.
That was shocking.
That was like,
It wa-
what were you thinking?
I
Well,
am
yes,
still
let's
feeling
mark
angry
that as
about
the
it.
biggest
To this
loser
day,
of the
I am
year.
still pissed off at them. I
Yes.
cannot get over it. I cannot forgive them.
That
And it's
that
bothering me that I can't let it go.
that was, I would give them the biggest loser of the year for that one. Let me tell you what
100%.
else I think was a big loser this year. And Tracy, you're going to be upset with me. Open source.
Oh, yeah.
I think this has been a crappy year for open source for a lot of reasons. Number one, I think the perception versus reality. The perception is that open source is inherently insecure. That all these open source tools, if we're not riding herd over them, there's all kinds of problems, security issues with open source. It's full of malware. It's full of bugs. No one's checking it. We just can't add it in. And so the whole software supply chain security thing and open source software supply chain is taking a huge hit. Number two, as a result of economic conditions and cutbacks and everything else, Chase, you know this, organizations like the Linux Foundation and the CD Foundation, everyone except even the CNCF is taking the hit. Companies are cutting back their budgets to support these open source foundations. And it's not cheap running open source foundations and not-for-profits like that, right? And so they're making do with less. They're making do with less. They're making some hard decisions on what they can do and can't do with open source. So there has been some good things. The concept of like paying maintainers has sort of gone mainstream, if you will. But companies are pulling back from their licenses and saying, wait a second, I don't want everyone using my stuff and I'm not getting paid for it. Competitors are using it against me, so I'm changing my licenses. We've seen it numerous times this year, more than in years past. Just when it seemed that open source had reached the pinnacle, and maybe it did, it reached the pinnacle and there's nowhere to go but down. But open source, not as bad as the lampshade incident at Black Hat, but open source has had a tough year. I would mark
It has. Alan, I would agree 100%. It has had a very hard year. You know what else has had a hard year is DevRel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What's
DevRel.
that?
A lot of companies have laid off a lot of DevRel, and I feel like it goes hand in hand with open source because a lot of those DevRel folks would do outreach to the open source communities. And one of the problems with the open source that I have seen over the years is that fewer just global committers. Like our Ortelius community, we're a truly an open source community. DeployHub doesn't pay anybody to be part of Ortelius. We just built that community. But if you look at some of the other projects, they always have a big company behind them. It's an IBM or an Apple or a CloudBees. And it's not really truly open source, and so you lose the heart of it. So that's another reason why it suffered. But I do believe that if open source got us into this problem, open source in the security realm can get us out of this problem. And the more that we focus on solving the security issues around open source, the more we'll get back to being at our pinnacle again. But on that note, according to Gartner, we're going to have triple the number of vulnerabilities from 2021. And I think 2021 had around 400, 500,000 vulnerabilities. So we could have over 1 million vulnerabilities that we're trying, and that could even erode faith and trust in open source more. So I think in 2025, open source is going to have to solve this problem.
Yeah, what is Gartner?
I think maybe AI helps solve this problem because we can go back in and find those issues and patch them, and maybe it becomes more reasonable. We'll see.
We could resurrect old dead security researchers to help us with AI.
Yeah, never mind that. How about the programmer who wrote the thing in the first place?
Yeah, maybe that. Anyway, hey guys, we're about out of time here. This was going to be a quick half hour, turned into 45 minutes. But we could reflect on this year, I think, until 2026, and we'd still be reflecting on 2024. I think it is going to go down as a watershed year for many, many reasons. You know what? To all of you, not just Guy and Trace and Mitch and Mike who are here with us today, but to John Swartz and Lisa and all of our gang members, thank you all for everything you did. Thank you all out here for watching us every day, wherever you watch us on, whether it's LinkedIn or our sites or YouTube or Facebook or whatever Twitter's called today, or anywhere else. In 2025, you will be able to watch us on Roku TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire Stick, as well as new mobile apps for Android and iOS. Thanks to the Techstrong, Crackerjack Techstrong IT team. But for now, hey man, have a merry, merry, merry Christmas and a great, happy, happy New Year. We'll be back on, I want to say Monday, January 6th, and we are ready, eager beavers to jump into 2025. On behalf of everyone, this is Alan Schimmel. We're out.